is Norah Ouma. Welcome to the Arts Pathway Academy. I'm your host for today, and with me I have two guests who will be discussing with us today, so I'll allow them to introduce themselves.
My name is Cherotich. I just graduated from the Arts Pathway Academy Fellowship. I am a sustainability professional doing some work with eco-diplomatic around land restoration.
Thank you. To my next guest, please introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Kelvin Muli. I am the CEO of African Network for Climate Action. I'm also a climate expert working in the African space. Yes, and I'm really excited to engage in this conversation.
So as part of the Arts Pathway Academy, we have various discussions on sustainability. Our main goal is to enable research type of communication to reach the people in an easy manner. So we have with us experts today on climate finance and sustainability, and one of our guests today is also one of the graduating fellows of the Arts Pathway Academy Sustainability Fellowship of 2024. So I would just like you to briefly speak on your experience on the fellowship and how it has impacted the work that you do.
Thank you so much. The fellowship has been a great opportunity for me. I have been able to gain skills in sustainability, getting in-depth knowledge on various issues around climate change. Having, I think, substance as a young person is a good way to that will advance your career. You have something to bring to the table, and I think that is something that we're able to gain from the fellowship. I was also able to network with professionals from various space, and I was also able to build my skills on grant proposals and publishing, and also it's a continuous experience whereby as alumni we are able to continue to be in contact and work on various initiatives together. So it is a very good initiative.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing your experience. So the discussion of today is climate finance and sustainability, and we want to delve into the new goals after the COP20, and we have experts here today who will help us break down this information to the masses. What does this mean? What does the climate space look like now, and what can we do as Africa? So I'll hand it over to you, Ryan. The new collective portfolio goal. Please explain to our audience what does it mean and what implications does it have on climate change efforts?
Yeah, thank you. When we talk about climate finance, this like the flesh, the meat, because NCQG, New Collective of Continental Courts, it's a very heavy term and plays a very big role when it comes to climate sustainability in Africa, because the money matters. When you look, for instance, the issue of NCQG comes very strongly during COPs. Look at the history of NCQG, which came to replace the 100 billion USD that was pledged in 2009, and then look coming all the way to COP29 last year, where 300 billion USD was pledged towards supporting the climate finance, and this works to support the climate adaptation initiatives in Africa. Still, it's not enough, because when you look at the African landscape, we need about $1.3 trillion to support climate adaptation in Africa. And when you look at the 300 billion USD that was pledged, it's still not enough. What does that mean for Africa? It means we're still falling short to meet our climate targets, and that requires us as an African continent to even train ourselves, because we need to come up with initiatives that are able to bridge that gap. And some of those is looks at maybe exploring at public-private partnerships, trying to tap into the private sector as much as possible through initiatives such as the carbon credit. It's an elephant in the room, but also it plays a very big role in trying to bridge that gap the finance. Also, there's aspect of also trying to encourage the private sector to continue through tax incentives, trying to provide tax incentives to these private entities, so as to continue, taking part in this activity. So overall, climate finance is very vital for Africa because we really need to meet these targets as soon as possible, because as time goes by, the gap will keep increasing. So this calls for African countries to come together and see how can we go to work collectively and bridge this gap.
Even as you're speaking about the future, we are already experiencing the effects of climate change, and the more we wait, the more the efforts of adaptation we need, and we need more mitigation efforts. I think earlier in the last year, 2024, Kenya experienced heavy floods, and these are some of the eye-openers of what will our future look like in terms of even climate change efforts, adaptation efforts, what do we need to put even in the urban spaces. And we've seen a lot of rising awareness, especially among the youth. And as we were speaking, sitting at the table when it comes to setting the agenda. So maybe you can speak to us, Kelvin, a little bit about what is the role of the youth and what can we do to increase our understanding so that we can set the agenda for climate adaptation.
Alright, just before I get into that, just to mention, I commend you for mentioning the involvement of the private sector, but there's also the issue of working in silos where the government is involving only the private sector. There are other stakeholders that can be included as well. For instance, faith-based organizations, they have a lot of finances and that can be tapped into. So I think looking into the various other stakeholders that can be involved in the conversation would be a great way to move forward as well. And moving forward to the role of maybe youth, I'll speak of youth, women, and also indigenous people, because those are the groups that are vulnerable, and when you look at the conversation, they are not mostly at the table. So there is need to have them involved, because having them involved will allow us to empower them economically, and then also recognize their traditional knowledge, as well as having conversation with the youth will also bring about the conversation on intergenerational justice. Looking into that, they need to be at the table. So there are barriers that affect these people's participation. For instance, limited property ownership for women. You'll find that in most African cultures, you find that the men are the property owners. So that's one of the barriers that affects them. And then there's also the issue of financial exclusion. You find that the head of the family, mostly in the African culture as well, you have men heading the family, and also the finance aspect. So women need to be involved more with the financial aspects of the family, for instance. And then there's also the issue of knowledge gaps. You will find that they have no knowledge of where to find the opportunities for funding. So looking at that and making sure that they're able to access this information is another way to involve them. And then there's also the issue of socio-cultural norms, where women and the youth and maybe the indigenous people are not allowed to do particular aspects. I think there's need for innovative ways to involve them. For instance, recently I was speaking to an expert that does farmer managed regeneration farming, and so they involve women, but creatively through women-led groups. They package the information as women stuff, like women activities, agendas. That way the men are like, no, that's just communication, that's just women stuff. So that way it's a creative way to involve women as well. Yeah, so and also there's the issue of age discrimination when it comes to youth. I think that's one of the things that should be addressed, and youth should be given a space to speak as well, because when you look at our generation, we are working on gaining substance, as I mentioned, so we have something to give and should be given the opportunity to be advertised.
Thank you very much. So coming back to the commitment for the last COP was the 300 billion. Can you speak on how we can cascade this amount and share it among the developing countries, and especially for nature-based and community-led initiatives towards adaptation? Because a lot of the financing goes to big organizations, so it's high time that we also boost the local initiatives that are coming. So let's speak for that.
Yeah, thank you. That has been a challenge for the longest time, where money is available, but it's going for the big boys, because the big boys. And but Kenya is really taking a lead in trying and putting all this out, because we're having programs like the FLOCA, which is financing locally direct actions, which is really getting momentum in Kenya. And actually, the purpose of these climate adaptation finance, it's supposed to trickle down to grassroots organizations who really are the tangible organizations doing the work on the ground. Because when you give money to these big corporations, the money doesn't get to the doers, and which are the grassroots organizations. But at the moment, we're seeing Kenya taking a very good lead, because through FLOCA, we're seeing a lot of grassroots organizations implementing nature-based solutions. And it's really working in Kenya, from the coastal region, the mangrove restoration programs, and this nature-based solution we call the double-sided sword, because one, you're tackling the issue of climate issue. On the other hand, there's also the economic value aspect of it. So you say through this nature-based solution, we're able to not only solve the climate issues, but also be giving economically to the programs.
Wonderful. Thank you for highlighting that, because a lot of the times we try to innovate solutions that not only serve one purpose, we conserve the climate, we conserve our environment, but as we are also building resilience towards creating income for the local community. So that is amazing how we have initiatives that also need to access this finance to better the livelihoods of their communities. I want to speak more on, even though we did not meet the target that we wanted at the COP, we can find other ways to raise finances. I think you spoke about private sector, and she has also spoken about private sector, but how can we tap into them and also still make business sense for them, value for money, while still accessing these finances to be able to continue the adaptation initiatives?
The issue of the finance gap, we need, as an African continent, we need now to come up with ways to be able to achieve that, because if we continue depending on the global north, they will never give us enough money to bridge that gap. So as an African continent, what we need to do, we need to identify tangible solutions within the African context. I'll give an example. Africa is very rich. The biggest percentage of Africa is arid and semi-arid. Coming to Kenya, Kenya is composed actually about 80% arid and semi-arid. What does that mean? We have huge potential for tapping solar energy. Solar energy, which can be converted also into national grid system and sell that electricity. At the moment, Kenya is selling electricity to Ethiopia. So you can see there's huge potential within the African landscape. We have the solution. We shouldn't over-rely on the global north per se solution, because we have the resources within the African context. It's just a matter of time of exploiting them positively and then the driving change. Again, Africa has rich minerals. We mine these minerals, we sell to the global north, they refine the minerals, they sell back to us. finished products, overtaxed. Why can't us Africans, mine these minerals, refine them, and and now are selling to the global north? So those are some of the ways as Africans, or rather the African continent, will be able to change the narrative. And if we're able to adapt to that, then we don't need funding from the global north. It might even reach a point Africa is actually funding the global north, and that's the narrative that we need to own up. Our African leaders need to come together and provide solution to the African problems.
Thank you very much. And throw the question to Kelvin. You mentioned our African leaders. What do you think is the role of governments, both at the regional level, in the continent, and at nation level, in supporting its own climate finance initiative and mobilizing resources towards climate adaptation and resilience?
I would say at the regional level, we need more cooperation so that we can come together and look at the opportunities that we have between ourselves and how we can work together to pull up resources that we can then use to for initiatives that will support our lives as Africans. So we need more cooperation through our regional organizations, and national-wide, I would say we need better policies, and also we need to ensure that we are aligning our key priorities such that we can allocate whatever finance that we have in the right areas, that we can be able to actually do the work that needs to be done and cover the gaps that exist.
Thank you very much. I think you've highlighted a very crucial point. Is it part of our national agenda to work towards resilience and adaptation? So thank you very much. I would like to end this session with a quick rapid fire round, just to ask you questions on your opinion. So I'll start with you. If you were to implement one policy today in Kenya to help us raise awareness on climate finance, what policy would that be, and what would the implementation look like?
Thank you for that question. For me, I'll go with the climate fund policies because climate change is here. It's already here, and we can't outrun the fact that it's here. So for me, is formulate and implement climate change policies. We already have the climate change act in Kenya. We have the carbon credit act in Kenya. Those are some of the policies, but now the issue comes now with implementation. We have very good policies, but we don't adequately implement them. So for me is the act of implementation.
For you, Kelvin, if there was one mitigation system that you would put in place to help Kenya adapt to now the seasons that are coming, we're expecting rains, what would that be, and what would it be?
Well, I would say, seeing how Nairobi and cities are mostly affected by floods, I would say that the county government should work in advance to ensure that all the drainages drainage systems are working, and also since it cannot be avoided for some areas, how are the emergency systems for us so that we can be able to support people that are affected, and also what is the long-term solutions that we can put in place so that we don't keep going back to the same methods, just recycling. When the rains come, we do the same thing, drainages, and then helping people that are affected. Like for instance, what kind of infrastructure can we invest in so that we can have a country that is more resilient to these issues like climate, like floods. So those are the major things that I would do. And also for the grassroots areas, I would educate people to make sure that they don't live along rivers, for instance, areas that are mostly affected by floods. Encourage people to move towards areas that are not affected, give them incentives or so that they can be motivated to actually and also have the resources to actually move from those areas to safer areas.
And I think our conversation today was on sustainability. So if you were to use one word to describe the future of sustainability in Kenya, what would it be and what would your word be?
My word is to be efficient. Yeah.
Okay. And your word, Kelvin?
I would say maybe promising, because we see people now becoming more aware. We have experts more vocal about the issues. We have a youth in this country that are interested in these matters and are demanding for accountability from leaders, and they actually want them to work for us. So I think it's promising. It's a promising future. Yeah.
So thank you very much to our guest for today, sharing insights with our viewers. We would like you to be part of the conversation. So we encourage you to follow Arts Pathway Academy on LinkedIn, on X, engage with us and let us know more about your contributions to the conversation on climate finance and sustainability. It was a pleasure being your host, and on behalf of Arts, I want to say thank you. Let us continue engaging, and please look out for the Arts Pathway Academy Sustainability Fellowship 2025 cohorts application that will be out soon. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.